Most people assume that wanting to be alone is a reaction, that something went wrong, that loneliness came first and preference followed. But for some people, being alone isn't a response at all, it's a relief. They don't feel empty when they're by themselves, they feel settled, clear, less tense. And that makes others uncomfortable. Sometimes it makes of them uncomfortable too, because we're taught that happiness is social by default. If you enjoy being alone, the assumption is that you're avoiding something, or protecting yourself, or quietly broken in a way you haven't admitted yet. That explanation sounds neat. It's also incomplete. The real reason some people are happier alone has less to do with fear and more to do with how their mind works when no one is watching. Most conversations around this topic focus on personality labels: introvert, extrovert, social battery, energy levels. Those ideas aren't wrong. They're just shallow. They describe what happens, not why it feels the way it does. When someone says they feel calmer alone, what they usually mean is this: their internal state becomes simpler. Fewer signals to track, fewer adjustments to make, less noise between who they are and how they're expected to appear. Around people, even people they like, there is constant low-level monitoring. Tune, timing, expression, reaction. Most of this happens without conscious thought, but it still costs something. For some minds, that cost is small. For others, it's constant. Being alone removes the need to manage perception. There is no audience, no feedback loop. And without that loop, the nervous system downshifts. This isn't about disliking people. It's about reducing cognitive load. Psychologically, social interaction is one of the most complex tasks the brain performs. It requires prediction, adjustment, emotional regulation, and self-control at the same time. Studies on cognitive effort show that tasks involving social evaluation activate the same stress systems as performance under scrutiny. Even friendly scrutiny. If your brain is especially sensitive to that input, solitude doesn't feel empty. It feels quiet in a precise way. Not lonely quiet, operational quiet. The mind finally runs at its natural pace. This is why some people don't feel recharged after social time, even when it was pleasant. Pleasure doesn't cancel effort. They enjoyed the conversation, but they were still working. When they're alone, that work stops. Another layer sits underneath this. Some people have a strong internal narrative. They think in full sentences. They process emotions by watching them, not by sharing them. For them, solitude isn't a lack of connection, it's where connection becomes clear. In social settings, their inner voice has to compete with noise, with response time, with the pressure to simplify thoughts so they fit into dialogue. Alone, nothing interrupts the chain. This isn't superiority, it's structure. A mind built for depth will always prefer fewer inputs. Not because it rejects others, but because it needs space to finish its own thoughts. The common misunderstanding is that happiness alone means independence, that the person doesn't need anyone. That's not true. What's actually happening is alignment. When external demands drop, internal signals become readable again. That's the core mechanism. Solitude removes distortion. Now comes the part people lie to themselves about. Many say they enjoy being alone because people are too much, too loud, too shallow, too fake. That explanation feels honest, but it's usually defensive. The deeper truth is harder to say. Around others, they feel split. There is who they are experiencing internally and who they are presenting externally. The gap between those two creates friction. Over time, that friction becomes fatigue. Instead of naming the split, it's easier to blame the environment, the culture, other people. This protects self-image. I'm not uncomfortable. The world is. But the real discomfort comes from self-division. When alone, the split disappears. There is no performance layer. Thoughts don't need translation. Emotions don't need timing. You can feel something without deciding whether it's acceptable. That freedom feels like happiness. But it's actually coherence. Another self-deception hides here. Some people tell themselves they're happier alone because relationships are draining or risky. Sometimes that's true. Often, it's incomplete. What they're avoiding isn't closeness. It's misalignment. They don't want to explain themselves constantly. They don't want to compress their inner world into small, fast exchanges. They don't want to feel slightly off every time they're fine. So they choose solitude and call it preference. That choice works, until it becomes the only place coherence exists. The consequences of this pattern aren't dramatic, they're subtle. Over time, the person may start organizing life around minimal disturbance, work that requires little collaboration, routines that limit unpredictability, relationships that stay polite but shallow. None of this looks like a problem from the outside. Inside, something quieter happens. The internal world grows richer. The external one grows thinner, not empty, just narrow. This can lead to a strange imbalance. The person becomes deeply self-aware but increasingly unseen. Not because no one wants to see them, but because showing up fully feels like fragmentation, so they stay private, controlled, contained. Happiness remains, but it's fragile. It depends on isolation. And isolation is stable until it isn't. The realization comes slowly. Being happy alone doesn't mean you're built to be alone. It means you're built to be undivided. Solitude just happens to be the place where that's easiest. The discomfort around people isn't caused by people. It's caused by the loss of internal unity. Once you see that, the story changes. You stop asking why others feel exhausting and start noticing when you start editing yourself. That moment is the signal, not to change anything immediately, just to see it. Because clarity isn't a solution, it's a condition. And once you understand why being alone feels good, you can recognize the difference between solitude as alignment and solitude as avoidance. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to share more. You don't need to force connection. You just need to notice what disappears when others enter the room. That awareness doesn't push you anywhere. It stabilizes you where you are. And once you notice it, you'll start seeing it in small moments you used to ignore.